Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce Ng. And Joyce, it's time to rip open the mailbag.
Rip open.
That's right.
Why are you so messy?
You can email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Every week we'll read your emails. These are real emails from listeners like you. I'm going to start with Jonathan Joyce, who's emailed us before. If you'll recall,
Oh,
Jonathan
yes.
had a long
Back
email the first
again. Yeah.
time.
How short is this one? Or how
Very
long?
good. Totally tight. So he's gotten the hang of it. As you become a regular emailer, you get the
You have to self-edit.
yeah, you
This
get
is
the
what
gist.
happens on the internet. People just post things and they
So
don't
this is
self-edit.
great. Another great email from Jonathan. Here he goes. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I was wondering if this could be Searchlight Pictures' weakest year at the Oscars since 2017. That year, the studio didn't receive a single Best Picture nomination and only received 3 nominations overall, which were all for Jackie. I believe this to be the case next year because Kinds of Kindness is apparently completely out of the picture and forgotten mostly by every pundit, while A Real Pain is not 100% guaranteed for a Best Picture nomination, though it is heavily predicted to receive 2 nominations, Best Supporting Actor and Best Original Screenplay. Meanwhile, Amy Adams is slowly falling off the charts for Night Bitch, as is the film itself overall, and a complete unknown is unknown, pun intended, at how it will be received and embraced by critics, awards groups, and the Academy. According to industry insider Daniel Richtman, I don't even know who that is, Joyce, but
I
he's an
mean,
industry insider. Early
clearly
word,
not Jonathan's fave. So,
maybe. Early word is that the film is, quote, just okay and has some problems. Mainly, it focuses too heavily on Dylan's relationship with Sylvie. Also, Timothy Chalamet is said to be fine, while the biopic is said to be overlong. I don't know who this is or what this is, but I'm just going to keep reading. However, these are reactions are strictly from a private test screening a while back, which is further described as a work in progress and clocked in around 2.5 hours. These divisive reactions will eventually be forgotten, though, since the reshoots conducted on the film probably have fixed these problems. But we also don't know how truly serious and accurate these test screening responses are. Thanks again for taking my question. Thoughts? That's from Jonathan.
I love test screenings
I don't
and
really
I
pay
love,
attention to this at all.
I mean, I know I've known people who've been to test screenings
Sure.
and they've seen things.
Yeah.
So, and then it's fun to see like what was actually amended post test screenings. But it's just like with everything, you take it with a grain of salt because it's just that group of 50 people's tastes,
Yes.
you know.
So uh, I'm gonna put aside the unverified test screening buzz from industry insiders. We still don't know anything about A Complete Unknown other than the trailer. And it's a possibility, I guess, like we said, for that 6 to 10 range, as is A Real Pain. I guess the thing with Searchlight this year is that they don't have like a slam dunk movie.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's fine. I do feel like a real pain um has been underestimated. I feel like it had a lot of buzz out of Sundance, and obviously Church like snatched it up and dated it for fall. So it seemed like it was gonna be their big thing in the fall, but I feel like people, really tempered their expectations with it because we knew Kinds of Kindness was on deck, but that got a summer release. So then it was like, okay, maybe this is not it for Yorgos here. Um, and then I feel like people have always been very wary of Night Bitch in the first place.
Yes.
So, and then there was the whole question of A Complete Unknown, which was filming in the spring, like whether or not it would even come out this year. So I think had it not been dated this year, people would be more on board with A Real Pain. But once it became dated, it was like, like we said in the episode we're recording this on Thursday, the episode that dropped today, like no questions asked. Everyone just slotted in Timmy once A Complete Unknown was dated for
Yes. Yeah.
2024. So, and then now, the trailer dropped, and I feel like the trailer was fine. It's like whatever, it's a trailer. But, clearly people are not like super impressed by it. So it's like, oh, this looks like it could just be mediocre, like James Mangold biopic stuff, which it could be. But so, and it's also late, Christmas Day release, whereas A Real Pain is coming out in 2 weeks, right? It just hit London. They're gonna ramp up the press again. So
My take is this, I think. A Real Pain of these two movies, Night Bitch I think is a non-factor for Best Picture certainly, and Kinds of Kindness doesn't exist. So I was like, for a real pain, I think it's the smaller movie. I think if it was anyone other than Searchlight, people would be not taking it very seriously. But because it's Searchlight, and because it has what we assume, like Jonathan said, and like we would both agree, very strong options in supporting actor and original screenplay for nominations, it feels like it could be like a type of movie that makes it into Best Picture. I think there's a passion for it. People like it. The Complete Unknown, I think is coming late. That's a demerit, but it has this Timothée Chalamet performance that everybody is like penciling in and feels extreme boomer bait for a certain wing of the Academy that still has power enough to get movies into Best Picture. So if it got nominated for Best Picture, I wouldn't be surprised. And we have no idea what it's going to be like. I'm hoping it's actually really good. I think it looks kind of cool. And why wouldn't it be good? Um, so yeah, maybe it gets into, and I don't think I think I would, the alternate for it being late is that it doesn't need a lot of like it's a Bob Dylan movie that you don't need a lot of
Yeah.
like explanation for it. Whereas The Real Pain, I think, is a smaller like movie, kind of needs a little more handling, right? Like a little more time in the oven.
And it has like the prime release spot, like right now, like October, November.
Yeah,
So,
a lot of times to build up equity among like audiences and critics groups, and all of a sudden people are paying attention to it. So I wouldn't be surprised if either one of them made it in. I don't know if both of them make it in, but I mean, if they did, I wouldn't be shocked. I do think it's not an off year for Searchlight. It's just not one of their like prime years.
yeah, and I wouldn't call it a disappointing year for them at all.
Yeah. No, I don't think so either.
Like it could still leave the season with an Oscar.
Yeah, I think it's actually front runner to win the acting one of the acting Oscars because of Kieran. So, and that leads me to believe that it might get in for Best Picture too. I still haven't put it in. I still have
Well, like we
Nick
talked about, like I don't,
Nickel
it's
Boys.
just like what to drop.
Yeah, I feel like the more I talked, we were in our last episode, which you could watch right now. We were talking a little about September 5, I think, in that episode. And I know more people have seen it this week because it was screening here in New York, and raves coming out again, and people being like,
Yeah,
"Oh my God, this is great!" and like,
because it's a great film.
and is like a Best Picture contender. So I think like while everybody online has been like poo-pooing it, the more people see it, the more obvious it is that this is a real contender for a nomination and probably many other nominations too. And so I wouldn't drop September 5 for it. Blitz, I think, has played fine, like we expected, and I think it'll have appeal to certainly British voters. So I think it'll stay in. So I'm basically like, do I drop Nickel Boys or a real pain right now, or keep Nickel Boys, knowing how well it will perform with critics groups? And I'm going to stick with Nickel Boys for now, but we'll see. Um, this email is from Cameron, who emailed us slugfest@goldderby.com. Joyce, and actually kind of speaks to something we were just talking about there in terms of the trailer, what you just said. So
Mm.
it's great. It's like almost like we planned this, but we didn't. This is stuff. I love this. I love when it happens organically. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Love you guys and the pod. I would like to take this opportunity to say that I hate how everyone, including some of the people who write into this podcast, are really enamored with trailers. Ever since the trailers have dropped for A Complete Unknown, Juror Number 2, Babygirl, and Gladiator 2, all of these films have gone up in the odds. And although I will admit that there is an art to making a trailer usually normally has absolutely no indication of how good a film is going to be. There are many films that have mediocre trailers that have turned out to be great, like The Martian, for example, and many films that have great trailers that have turned out to be terrible, like 2016's Suicide Squad. So I think people overall should have less faith in trailers. However, to completely contradict myself, I would also like to say that the new trailer for Babygirl looks great, and it has gone up in my Gold Derby odds. Do you think there's a possibility that Babygirl could actually do really well? Could it be the promising young woman of the year in that it has an interesting premise, often done before, however, executed in a new and original way? Also, like Promising Young Woman, it could get good word of mouth, an actress nomination, which everyone has admitted is very likely, and could peak around December Christmas time. Yes, Young Woman had more time to manifest its nominations, but Babygirl could still do really well, especially in a more open field in Best Picture, where the last four slots are really anyone's game. Also, could Helena Rain be more of a palatable female director nomination than other contenders like Coralie Farjay and Marielle Heller? I just think Babygirl could do really well, although I'm going to be annoyed by the inevitable discourse about how it's finally a quote good version of 50 Shades of Grey. If you're at all in the know, you know that 2002 secretary already fit that bill anyway. Anyway, I love you guys in your podcast, and I am at a desperate need for more episodes. Please, more than 2 a week. Make it every day. Thank
Oh
you.
my
That's from
God.
Cameron.
No. More.
I mean, I would do it every day, but you can't do
You
that.
would do it
I
every
would.
day.
I grew up listening to Mike and Mad Dog. They did 5 hours of radio every day, 20 hours a week,
No,
25 hours a
it's
week.
it's it's not about the quantity. You need to leave people wanting more.
That's true. Babygirl, Joyce. What do you think?
Babygirl is a Christmas movie.
Hmm.
I agree, great trailer. And yeah, trailers are not an indication of the quality of the film. Trailers are for marketing purposes.
Hmm.
So while you're reading that, I remembered a conversation I had with the well, it was on an editor's panel, but I asked like how they feel about trailers because they're not usually the ones cutting them, but
Of
they cut
course.
the project,
Right.
you know. And Alex Trudeau Viriato, who cut the John Bon Jovi doc, Thank You, Good Night. And he was so annoyed with like trailers because it was just like they're completely different beasts from the actual product. So it's like done by the marketing team, and it's just, you sometimes like they they tell the story that you were telling in the project, right? But sometimes they don't or can't because they're just trying to sell it to the masses, you know?
Hmm.
Um, so I think, I like for fans, like, trailers are usually the first time you see footage of the project. So it's really exciting. And then I think it's really easy to extrapolate opinions from it and just think like this looks like shit just because the trailer looks like shit.
Sure.
But like there's so many scenes put together out of context and just stuff like CGI'd out of scenes, like all the Marvel trailers, because of spoilers.
Hmm.
So but I understand people's excitement over trailers, but like trailers to me are just completely separate from the film.
I think sometimes I think it's just case by case for me. But I'm like sometimes a good trailer lead like the Anora trailer was absolutely
Yeah,
fantastic,
like it
and
should get you excited to
the
see the film.
movie was fantastic. Um, but like with Complete Unknown, using that as an example, I do think it's hard. It's interesting that Cameron was like that movie went up in the odds because I saw a lot of people being like that trailer wasn't very good, and I
Yeah.
think it's hard when you're doing a biopic like getting isolated. Like Timothy Chalamet as Bob Dylan in the singing sounded pretty good to me. I thought like it did sound like that, but then when he was talking in conversations, it sounded like a little not I don't want to say silly, but you know what I mean? It sounded just like kind of like an SNL thing. And I think you could say the same with like Sebastian Stan in the Apprentice trailer, but then you watch the Apprentice and it's like, man, he's
Yeah.
fantastic, right? And it's like the
Like the
same with
Apprentice trailer is mostly from the first half before he becomes
yeah.
the Trump we know today.
And
It's
I'm
like
like,
all the
right.
great stuff by him is the second half, which is not in the trailer.
And so it's like you could like so with Timothy Chalamet in the Complete Unknown trailer, I'm like, I definitely am going to take that with a huge grain of salt because like I think in the context of the movie, you might be like, oh, this is great. But in like a 2 second voice clip, maybe it doesn't work as well. So I think it just matters. And so like I agree. But in terms of Babygirl, it is a great trailer choice.
That's a great trailer. Yeah. Sometimes there are great trailers and great films.
So this is another movie, I think, as we get to the end of the year here, and like we've talked about, it seems like there's like 5 or 6 movies to me that are like pretty much 6 movies to me that are very much in the conversation to get a Best Picture nomination. And then 7, 8, 9, 10 are much more flexible. And so if a movie like Babygirl really does pop, I don't think it's without question that it could get in for Best Picture, personally. And I think Helena is a potential for Best Director as well.
I mean,
Uh,
I had that in screenplay for like 2 minutes.
yes. And like another person I would watch as a dark horse contender would be like Antonio Banderas for supporting actor because there's really only like that's another flexible category. So I think if as these late movies start coming this year, especially, I think there's room for one of or two of them to like make an impact on the race or fall out. Like if Gladiator or Complete Unknown aren't any good, then there's even more room. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. So
Yeah. I also feel like because it is dated so late, like it's coming out on Christmas as well. Um, I think that causes a lot of hesitancy too.
Yeah.
I feel like if this was premiering in like 3 weeks, people would have a little bit more confidence in it because it's like you'll have more runway in November to build time through the rest of the year.
The other thing I think we've talked about this, their A24 has 17 movies this year. And
Only 17?
a lot of it feels like waves crashing on the shore, right? Like,
Yeah.
or just like we're just throwing a bunch of stuff. Babygirl feels like it could be a standout because while they have 7 or 8 different guys who are eligible for or
So
really
many dudes.
contenders for best actor, the really only best actress contender they have is Nicole Kidman. So I think that'll help it stand out as well. People love Nicole Kidman, obviously, too. We both have her in for an Oscar nomination, so it feels like this movie already has like a leg up. So I think if it's good and people really do respond to it, it could very quickly move up the ranks in a lot of other categories. So we'll see. I'm excited to see it. I think they did a tastemaker screening of it over the
They
weekend.
did. Yeah.
We did not. We are not of
We're
taste.
not tastemakers.
What are you gonna do? This one's from Alex Joyce, who's emailed us before. In fact, he's reporting back because I think his last email was talking about how he was going to see The Substance in Saturday night.
Oh, right. Yes.
He emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. As promised, reporting back after having seen The Substance in Saturday night. How do I put it mildly? The Substance is far and beyond my favorite film of the year. Chris, I've jumped aboard the director train with you. I honestly feel like Coralie's European reach could really boost her in the season with few no mega directors in the race. Overall, I can't believe they pumped out 2.5 hours of content, but despite thinking at 7 different points the film was at its conclusion, I'm so glad it wasn't. Demi should absolutely be in the best actress race, and even Margaret deserves a solid campaign, not just for donning the Monstro Elisu costume. Monastro, whatever. At a minimum, this film should have makeup, sound, and editing locked up, but we'll see if the Academy is brave enough to take it on at all. Part of me is hopeful that this movie gives more everything everywhere than Hereditary, as people are making the comp, and it can ride the wave of weird movies breaking boundaries. As for Saturday night, in hindsight, perhaps seeing it after 12 hours after seeing The Substance wasn't great. The word I kept giving people as a review for Saturday night is adequate. Dare I say I needed it to be more chaotic, and the bar ice rink scenes in the third act sadly brought the film to a screeching halt for me. If anything, I'm thrilled that this gave so many up and coming actors an opportunity to shine in a commercial light. Thanks as always. That's from Alex.
Look at your impact. Everyone's copying you now.
I know.
Um, yeah, it is pretty it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes, The Substance, right?
It's way too long. My thing
Yeah,
was
it's
like,
very long.
it's funny. Like this is Alex's thoughts are very similar to mine, in that there's not a single reason why it should be a 140-minute movie. And
No.
it does feel like literally I was like, there's a part where it ends, and I was like, oh, that's the end. And then I was like, oh, there's 35 minutes left. So there is a lot of moments where it ends. And yet I was never bored or wanting to fall asleep like I have in other movies this year. Certainly uh almost of similar themes, even Joyce. So I feel like even though it feels like it's too long, it never feels too
I
long.
think it's also because the finale is so insane.
Yes. Um, I think the other thing I've noticed, it's done incredibly well at the box office.
Hmm.
And it's becoming the memes are alive. Now, again, it might be the algorithm, so I'm self-selecting, but I'm like, I see a lot of people referencing this film. I think it has broken through a layer that a movie like this maybe you would not expect to have broken through.
Um, it is very popular online. I don't know a single person in real life who has heard of this movie.
So I know a few people like who aren't in the biz who saw it and like,
Yeah, none of my normie friends have heard of this movie.
so I still remain pretty bullish on Coralie as a Best Director nominee, and I think it should absolutely be in the conversation for makeup and should win. And I think it should be shortlisted for sound, even though I don't think it'll get in based on the competition. Um, I'm not ready to put Demi Moore in for Best Actress though, but it would be fantastic if that could manifest.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both have her in at the Globes, and we
Hmm.
talked about her uh possibly hitting SAG too in our
Yeah,
episode this week.
if she hits SAG, I actually would
If she
be.
hits SAG, she could still miss the Oscar. Like, I think she could still miss even with both of them.
If she hits SAG, though, I'll put her in at the Oscars. Right now at the Oscars, I have the top three that everyone has, Carlos Big Gascon, Mikey Madison, and Angelina Jolie. And then I have Nicole Kidman, like we were just talking about, and fourth, who I think is pretty solid. And then I have Saoirse Ronan, and I've toyed with Marianne Jean Baptiste, and you have Marianne Jean Baptiste. And I think like Demi for me would be like seventh, maybe, if I was making my
Fair.
list. So I could see putting her in. Um, I do think it has passion potential, obviously.
Yes.
Like
Um,
number one potential for her. I mean,
yeah, but I just don't know. Like, I feel like Marianne could get more of those number ones than she can.
I think that's true. And I'm ready to drop Searcha because I think Outrun is kind of like we were talking about this week, not existing as much as it should. And I think she's got a better shot at getting in for Blitz because the category is easier. So,
Yes.
um, as for Saturday Night, I don't disagree that it's completely different than The Substance. I still think it's great. I loved it so much. And I would agree that bar, the scene in the bar when he hires Alan Zweibel, and then the ice rink, which is with John Belushi and Gilda Radner, it. I've talked to people where they're just like, it doesn't make any sense, and not just in terms of like the history, because like you're combining different things, but in terms of like the timing, it does
There's like
kind of.
10 minutes left.
There's like 10 minutes left in the movie, and it's like, oh, Lauren's going to be out at the ice rink. It just doesn't. It it
It's
kind
weird
of like
because
breaks the.
he gets like the blood splattered on him and then he leaves. I'm
Yeah.
like, you're in Studio 8H, you go all the way down
It does
and
break the
walk to a
spell though.
bar
Yeah.
on like Fifth Avenue.
It does
You
break
sit
the
down.
spell a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Like we talked about, I think Saturday Night's a great movie and it's going to be competitive in a lot of places, but I could see it missing everywhere. So, except for screenplay, maybe we'll see. Um, who's next? Let's see. This one is from P. Hi, Joyce and Chris. P here. Love the show. Listen to it at work and during my lunch walks. Such a
Wow,
joy.
during work.
Yeah,
What is he doing?
listening to us. Hey,
Not
P,
getting
what's up?
caught. Oh my God.
Pause the pod. Check your email. Anyway, three short Oscar questions. Have there ever been animated films that have come close to being in the conversation for best production design, costume design? Some past Oscar VFX winners seem to have gone to not most VFX or most showy VFX, but to most invisible VFX for a drama the Academy enjoyed. So it at least gets one nomination. What do you both think about Civil War sneaking in to the best VFX nominations for the seamless VFX in the third act? And then finally, a question for Joyce. As a lover of the Olympics, what would you think about the Oscars awarding films first, second, and third place? Thanks for your time. That's P.
So like they would reveal the vote totals.
100% in on this.
That'll be
We know
fine.
that.
Yeah, that'll be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
I want it to be Hunger Games. I keep saying that. Just shoot a. That movie has been eliminated. Congratulations.
There's a countdown throughout the whole show.
It'd be so great. We could do reverse order there. So VFX, I love the VFX in Civil War. It's fantastic. It's like seamless. It is.
Yeah, I just feel like it's been a little bit forgotten.
I'll give you another one that we saw this week that I was like should be in the conversation is Unstoppable, Joyce, which I
You
absolutely loved.
great sports drama.
Uh, Jarrell Jerome plays Anthony Robles, one who is a wrestler with one leg,
Hmm.
and I
NCAA champion.
and I between the performance and the VFX, I never for a single second thought I was
We
like,
walked out of that, and the first thing Chris said was like, "This sounds stupid, but I believe that he only had one leg."
yeah, like it was the magic of movies, Joyce. Like it was the magic. I really believed it. I not for a second did not think like,
I
oh
think, well, like it's obviously it's his whole leg, which I think it's easier to remove.
yes,
Not that I know anything about visual effects,
sure,
but it's not like, a partial like
no,
amputation or
no,
anything. He was just born without a leg. And but it's also like Jarrell's physicality and
it,
just his movement and with the crutches and everything.
this is like
There's a long sequence when he's on this interminable hiking trail
yeah,
in
it's unbelievable.
dead heat in Arizona, and he's just climbing the rocks like on crutches, and it's like it is very believable that he only has one leg.
This is not how people think of acting at all, but I was like you're saying there, like Jarrell Jerome playing a person who has one leg, more believable than anything. Like I was just like, I can't. It's like that's like the physicality of it, all of it. It's like an incredible performance. It's like Daniel Day Lewis esque to me in terms of like making you believe it. It just was
Well,
crazy to
it's
me.
also it. I mean, his whole performance itself is great, and
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know about the Oscars, but I could totally see him getting in the Globes if like I think there's been not a lot of heat on this movie since the
no,
TIFF premiere,
no.
so it needs to like come back in a
I
way.
think it will. I was just like, in terms of VFX, like Civil War, I agree. I think that's like a fantastic example of like truly seamless VFX and like for like what seems like not a lot of money, and they're able to make it look so good. And I do think like Unstoppable is a little like that too because it's so core to the movie. But I don't think Civil War is going to sneak back in. A24 has 200 movies, I think.
Do they
So
remember they have Civil War?
I think they do because it helped them bank a lot of money to buy all these other movies at the end of the year. And then the last one was animated films that have come close to being in conversation for production design, costume design. The only animated one I could think of for production design would be like Pinocchio, the Guillermo del Toro one.
Yeah, I don't think they have come close at all because I just don't think they really think that way.
I think if it was if it were stop motion, like that kind of option
Yeah,
would make
yeah.
it in.
Hmm.
But I don't think they think of it that way either, unfortunately. It's also hard to like figure out like what are you actually getting there. Um, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think like actual the branch would know, but I think like if one were to get in and with the whole academy voting, they would not know. They would just like dismiss it. It's like, oh, you just like drew that.
Hmm. Uh, Next up here, this one's from Ite, who's emailed us before, a loyal fan. Uh, Hi, Joyce and Chris. I envy you so much for getting to watch all these films already, and some of them multiple times. I'm
That's
tr
just him.
I'm trying to remind myself that I was jealous of Chris last year for seeing Killers of the Flower Moon 100 times until I almost died of boredom on my first watch of the last hour of that film. Anyway, musicals. My questions are: musicals are not so hot with the Academy since La La Land. And sure, Ariana DeBose won for West Side Story, but no musical really came through in a La La Land way. Then why are you guys so hot on Amelia Perez? Even if Zoe wins, I don't see the Academy going big for a musical in Spanish. Number two, what will be the black and white film that gets a lone nomination for cinematography this year? And number three, what is your guys' oh my god, right, this forgetful film won Oscars of the last few years? Mine is All Quiet on the Western Front. When Joyce shaded their score win like the queen that she is, I was teleported to my heart sinking when Babylon lost. I already Roman Roy style pre-grieved for Challenger's imminent loss. Also, I have a feeling that Wicked Part 1 question mark will fail to launch with only getting the goddess Cynthia Erivo for SAG, although they should give her the Oscar she deserves for Stand Up. Side note, when Joyce talks about tennis, it feels like watching the girls on Industry talking shop. I understand nothing, but I'm loving it. Thanks for reading my email. Wish you well. That's from Ite.
Um, Also this weekend is the 1 year anniversary of Killers of the Flower Moon, and you saw it for the third time.
The third time, and then I'll never see it again, Joyce.
I still can't believe you did that.
I had to see it just to figure out what I was missing.
Again, it was your new Phantom Menace.
It was. That was a full Phantom Menace where it's like, this has got to be great, right? I mean, like, Star Wars is so good. It's got to be really good. I must be missing something. Why is it not good?
Um, okay, so musicals,
Yes.
right?
I guess, why do we think Amelia Perez will do well when other musicals haven't, is the kind of the question.
I be I think like Amelia, it's actually less about the fact that it's a musical, and I think it's more about how like winning and charming the performances are, and you're just kind of really taken in by it. Like I didn't love the movie, but it's very entertaining, and it is messy, and there are a lot of things simplified and some plot holes, but you're very tempted to suspend disbelief and just go along for the ride.
I, I also, yes, and uh, I don't believe it's a music. Like, I think if you're comparing it to like La La Land and West Side Story, to me, it's nothing like those movies.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like not like it's not like a traditional musical. A lot of the songs are actually spoken in
Hmm.
beat. Like the dialogue is
Which
like,
is why, one of like my issues with, is it gonna get double noms in song? You
which I
know?
don't think it will. Like a lot of the songs are like spoken in beat. That one of the like the one song is a karaoke scene, which has been not a music. You would not watch it and be like, this is a musical. You'd be like, this is a scene from a movie where they're singing karaoke. You know what I mean? Like there are a couple of like there's like one or two numbers that feel like very much like old school musical style. Like a lot of the Zoe ones actually to me are like that, but then a lot of the other ones are like whisper singing or using dialogue and like talking in like a syncopation or a beat. So that's kind of like it is a musical, but it is also not like a West Side Story or La La Land or Wicked. So I feel like that will help it stand out. And I do think it's a vibes movie, which will also help. You know what I mean? Like you want to like hang out with this cast and like the characters, and it's like a lot of fun. Like you said, it's kind of intoxicating when you're watching it, and maybe it doesn't like a lot of the vibes like to me like Saturday Night is like similar. I think Saturday Night is better personally, but I'm like it is the same kind of thing where you're watching and you're like this is great. What a great time. And then maybe when you're after you're done with it, you're like okay, that was cool, but like it's
Yeah.
not like as memorable for some people, I guess. Um Black and white film for lone cinematography nom. Can we count Maria because there's black and white cinematography in it?
Yeah, like that's why I have it in.
I think he could win Ed Lackman for that, but we'll see. And then what movie forgot? I can't even answer this because I've forgotten so many movies that have won
Chris
Oscars.
has no memory.
Couldn't even tell you who won this year.
Um,
No, I can. It's Oppenheimer. Come on.
I I don't know like what I would say for that. I guess, I mean, like last week when the A Complete Unknown trailer dropped, I was just like, remember when Ford versus Ferrari
Mm,
won Oscars? And I like that movie, but no one talks about that movie.
no,
So,
a good one.
yeah.
This one is from Joel Joyce, emailing us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. This is my first time sending an email to the
Oh,
Slugfest
welcome.
after being a casual viewer for so long. I recently jumped on the Adrian Brody train and predicted him to win Best Actor because I think Brady Corbet is winning Best Director. I have Anora winning Best Picture, Original Screenplay, and Best Actress. However, I don't know if Guy Pearce and Felicity Jones are coming along with them to win, even if they're supposedly very good. I have Clarence Macklin winning Best Supporting Actor since he has a great narrative and performance, and I have Sing Sing winning Best Adapted Screenplay. Meanwhile, I think Zoe Saldana has much more momentum to win Best Supporting Actress, despite Amelia Perez being polarizing. Despite these, Pearce and Jones, in my opinion, are still win competitive. What are your thoughts? Thanks. And to Joyce, thoughts on Rafael Nadal retiring. My first time watching Nadal was when he won his first ever Grand Slam in 2005 at Roland Garros when I was in elementary school. He's
Oh
been
my
my
God.
favorite tennis player since
Let
then,
me
so
like
it was
wither into dust.
heartbreaking and surreal to watch the retirement video. Now that in my late 20s, it feels like the end of an era for tennis. Thanks from a first time letter sender. That's from Joel.
It is the end of an era. It is. Yeah. Um, yeah. I don't know. Kind of talked about that last week, but it is, I mean, with the big three or big four, because like Andy also retired this year. Like for me, this is the first, it's like my generation. So it's like I actually watched their complete careers.
Hmm.
It's not like when I was a child and I started getting to tennis and like I knew like who Steffi Graf was, but I missed her early years. Like I missed her Golden Slam. I
Right,
mean, I was alive for it, but I was three.
right.
So, but so like this is, yeah, it's like it hits different because this, like I watched their whole careers and now it's ending. Um,
And then for
but
Brutalist Joyce.
Brutalist.
So the
Uh,
supporting actors, we both have Adrian Brody winning as well. It feels like
yeah.
it's like not necessarily his to lose, but he's very well positioned to win. Uh, I think Guy Pearce could be win competitive more so than Felicity Jones. That would be my take.
Yes. Yes.
And I think
It could just be like Oppie.
it would be like a mirror version of Oppenheimer. My friend Mark and I have been talking about Oppenheimer, a Brutalist, because all the conversation about it is like, man, are people going to want to see a 3 hour historical epic about a great man? And they are like, this never happens. And it's like, it literally just happened last year. It's a movie called Oppenheimer. It made $1 billion and won 100 Oscars. And the Brutalist would very much be in line with Oppenheimer. So
Yeah,
Uh,
it's just like it lacks the cachet of Christopher
it just
Nolan.
doesn't. If Christopher Nolan made this movie, it would be a huge
Like
thing.
everyone will
Everybody
be
would
like, I
like,
cannot wait to see this
yeah.
movie.
So I'm like, and the same narrative with the 70 millimeter and all the formatting bullshit, and you got to see it in the theaters. So I'm like, yes, the Oscars and audiences would be amenable to this movie because they just were last year. So
Yeah, I feel like the Brutalist's campaign should just be like, it does not feel like 3.5 hours.
did you
Trust us.
did you like Oppenheimer? Then you'll like this movie. That should be the
Yeah, I
campaign.
feel like every time I talk to someone who has not seen it, they are always surprised when I say the Brutalist is great and you don't feel the runtime.
Right.
I'm like, just trust me on this. Just give it a shot. And I feel like that's going to be its thing this season, just
Mm-hmm.
convincing people to watch it. And it's
Yeah.
not, or maybe like, do you think like some of them are also burned by Killers of the Flower Moon?
Yes, I do. But I mean, like, this is a different. This is different.
It's totally different. There's an intermission, it's built in.
It's like, I mean, it is like two separate movies. It feels like
Yeah.
2 hour and 45 minute movies.
And the thing with where we talk about this offline, I guess, but the thing with the intermission is like when it happens, you want to watch the second half. It's not like, oh man, this was brutal, no pun intended. Like I can't watch the second half now,
It's
you
great.
know?
You absolutely want to get back into it.
Yeah. And then
Um,
like Felicity, I think she has a meatier role for sure than Emily Blunt did in Oppie.
yes.
But I don't I think this would just be like a welcome back nom.
I'll give you two. I'll give you two things. You know me because I love. I had her in and out, all
We
based
we
on who
all
I
know what
talked
you
to.
did. We all know what happened.
All based on who I talked to. I talked to another guy this week, guy that's notable,
Who like Felicity?
who was like, yeah, she didn't really work for me, and the second half was not as good as the first half, which I kind of agree. But then I talked to a woman, and she was like, I love the second half more, and Felicity's fantastic, and I was like, oh, she's getting in then. That was it. I was like, that's fine, she'll get in.
You just need to surround yourself with more women.
Yeah, definitely,
Talk to dudes. Too many dudes.
it is. Uh, this one's from Ryan Joyce. Emailed us at slugfest@goldderby.com. Hi, Joyce and Chris. You two are really the one of the best parts of my week. I wanted to discuss the Best Picture race. We love to surprise Oscar nominations that pop up on nominations morning. Having now seen Anora, Amelia Perez, Saturday Night, and Sing Sing, I believe there is a 0% chance they will not be nominated for Best Picture, including Saturday Night. As long as Oscar voters see Saturday Night and Sing Sing, I truly feel there is no way they will not go gangbusters for them. Saturday Night is my favorite film I have seen so far. Come on, best casting, SAG ensemble, screenplay director, costumes, production
Is
design,
this your
and
burner?
score. This is my burner, Ryan. Ryan, come on out. Sing Sing and Amelia Perez have those acting nominations locked up, no question. Such scene-chewing work, especially from Zoe Saldana and Clarence Macklin. Are we underestimating how well certain movies will play with the actual awards body? As bullish as I am on the substance, I sadly do not see Academy voters going for it outside of maybe director or production design. Are there any films you feel will play better with voters than critics and audiences? What surprise additional nominations do you think certain films can pick up? You both rock. Please never stop. That's from Ryan.
Wow. Um, I can definitely see Saturday Night playing better with industry than with people and
We
film Twitter.
we've talked about this. I think one of the reasons I was even from the first before more people have seen it, before it even came out at Telluride, loved it at Telluride. The screening was like through the roof at Telluride. And I remember we talked about it and I was like, does anybody like we've talked about with like movies about American history and like any kind of recent American history, do international voters give a single fuck about this topic? And
Right.
so with Saturday Night Live, I'm like, I think within Los Angeles, it will be very, very well received because it's about making it's like, let's put on a show and how hard it is to
It's
produce.
really about making live
Yes.
television.
And how
Just
hard
forget
it
about
is.
SNL.
Right.
It's just live TV.
And how hard it is to produce live television in the entertainment industry and how hard it is to hold on to the vision that you have while the money and the suits are telling you that you're an idiot. And so I think that will really, people will really respond well to that in the branches. And that said, I still don't know how many nominations they can get because I'm like, internationally, I don't know if it's the same kind of conversation. And I don't think people are reverent for Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, to our international listeners, like how big is SNL where you're from,
It'd be great to
if at
know.
all?
Please email us,
Yeah.
slugfest@goldriver.com. I do think there's still a world where it gets in. I think in the branches, yes, I think it should be competitive for score. I think it should be competitive for production design and costume design. We'll see if that makes it in there, but I think it could get like those kind of nominations. Um, I think similarly, Sing Sing will play really well to the industry.
They're bringing it back.
And so I think people who are like soft on that should rethink that.
Yeah, I mean, not that they're the same at all, because one is definitely better than the other. But it reminds me a little if like Saturday Night does well, it will kind of be like Bo Rap, because
Hmm.
like everyone online wanted that to fail.
Yeah. I I think with this one, the difference is no one seemed to like Bohemian Rhapsody except for the hundreds of thousands of people who bought tickets for it and made it a huge box office hit.
Yeah,
In Saturday Night, I feel like there are some people who are like, this is trash, but even the people who don't like it are like, it was fun and like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they have to admit that it's actually pretty good, even if they didn't want to like it. So, like, I don't think there's not as much animosity towards it. It is trending towards the Oscar villain status, but not there yet, I would
yeah,
say.
it would just be like the same kind of disconnect where you're just underestimating it, and then it
It,
suddenly it pops with the
if it,
industry.
if it got nominated for Best Picture, it would immediately be number one seed in the Oscar villain pool, for sure. Um, this one's from Joseph, who emailed us, or Joe. Hi, Joyce and Chris. This is my first time emailing you guys. However, I have been listening to your podcast for years, and I especially enjoy the Oscars playback series. I regularly bet money on the Oscars. So when Oscar season comes around, your podcasts are always where I start my analysis and gauge what I may or may not bet on. My
The same.
biggest win to date was Parasite. I placed a 400-pound bet on it to win Best Picture and won 3,200 pounds. Not
That
bad
has
for a
nothing to
night's
do with
work.
us because we weren't doing this back then.
No, but good on you for getting Parasite. Anyway, my question is this. In a weaker Best Supporting Actor field this year, could Denzel Washington finally get his third Oscar for Gladiator 2? I realize neither of you have seen it yet, but from the trailer, it looks like he's having a blast, and I'm sure you'll agree Denzel is the sort of actor that really should have three Oscars. I know I may sound crazy, but the Academy has awarded actors in the past for roles that you never thought they would, and I would be really interested to hear your take. I like betting on a long shot, and I found that more often than not, it pays off. That's from Joe.
Um, we're seeing Gladiator next week.
Can't fucking wait.
And he does look like he's having a fucking blast in the trailer. I feel like that is an accurate representation of his performance in the film, the trailer, in this case.
I agree. So to me, I think he's absolutely win competitive, and I think he could easily run away with it if it's like if he's good and the movie is like fun and good. So
Yeah. I feel like we probably talked about this a little bit 3 years ago with Macbeth. And not that I ever really thought he was gonna win for Macbeth, but it was just like, yeah, he feels like the type of performer who will win three Oscars, which was also the logic with Fences, like, and especially after he won SAG over Casey, and so many people switched to him. I think because he is in supporting, a lot of people think like he should not have more supporting Oscars than lead, but I don't think voters are thinking about that at all if they love this performance and want to vote for him.
I agree, and I think no disrespect to Kieran Culkin, who I know we both love like dearly, and he's fantastic in A Real Pain. I think because of the way that race is shaken out, I think it's very easy to imagine a world where Denzel just kind of like steamrolls. You could easily see that with Kieran too, no doubt. But people love Denzel Washington. I think he's like one of the most like is he like a top three movie star at this point? Top five? Like I think if he's having a blast and the movie's fun and people like the movie, it's a Best Picture nominee, like he could easily win.
I think it depends on several things. Like the movie needs to be good and successful. It doesn't need to be as big as the first one was, but
No,
just,
it can't flop.
successful. Yeah, it
Yeah,
can't flop,
it can't flop.
definitely not Joker.
If it's
Um,
Joker, he's not winning.
and I think, we can safely assume that he's great in it. So that, but it's not a meritocracy here.
It's not about great.
Yeah. And and there is apathy towards the other performances and nominees and films.
Yeah, that's true. Um, when does Joker come out, Joyce?
I told you season 2 of Shogun, same time.
Okay. This one's from Amir Taha. Hi guys. What do you think of Mufasa the Lion King? The director is Barry Jenkins, who is a very well respected person in the industry. Plus, you've got Lin-Manuel Miranda writing original songs. And all things aside, I think the team behind this film deserves some respect for coming up with an original story. My second question is about the status of Nosferatu. The first teaser blew my socks off, and it seems destined to be an amazing movie, but I think it has a higher chance in the tech categories, and apart from that, I think it'll be snubbed. I also think that Sing Sing has lost a lot of momentum. I think because A24 saw the amazing reception of The Brutalist, they've completely moved their campaign strategies towards the latter. And recently, I've even begun a little shaky about having Sing Sing in Best Picture anymore. What do you guys think? And finally, here's one of my biggest question marks for the rest of 2024 alongside Gladiator 2, the movie Here. When the trailer first came out, I thought that it was amazing and the de-aging looked perfect. But now that time has passed, I don't know how to feel about the actual movie anymore. Do you guys think it'll be good and whether it can get into visual effects or not? Sorry for having so many questions. Since this is my first time emailing, I've got a lot of question marks. Keep up the amazing work.
Wow. Welcome again. So many first
I
timers
know.
this week. What was the first one?
Mufasa the Lion King.
Mufasa.
I have it in for original song and visual effects.
I think I have it in visual effects, but not song, right?
Yeah,
That's what I did.
I put it in for original song because of Lynn, and I think visual effects because it's incredible animation that's digital and like it should get in there. But I don't.
Yeah. So, I mean, in general, I'm not into the Disney live action films. So,
I'll tell you this: I'm not either. I think they're unnecessary. I was Stockholm syndrome into the first Lion King because there was a year where my daughter watched it 100 times.
why
The
didn't you just watch the OG one?
We watched both, but she really liked the real. We called it the real Lion King, which I was like, I had to like explain to her how it's not real. Like didn't work. Anyway, and then now this one, I'm like, at least this is while I don't agree with all, like at least Amir Taha is saying here, it is an original story. So I was
Mhm.
like, I'm more interested in this one than I thought I would be, just because I'm like, I'm curious to see how they do this, and it's not just remaking a better animated movie that already
Yes.
exists.
Yes.
Um, Nosferatu, we got another email about it, and people have been really excited about that.
Mhm.
I think the I know Focus was excited. I tell you right, I talked to people at Focus and they were like psyched about it, certainly from a audience perspective. And I think the crafts are great. I think to me it feels like the best it could hope for, which would be great, would be like Nightmare Alley, right? Like in terms of like sneaking into the
You
best
mean
picture field.
also Best Picture?
Yeah. I mean, like again, if like 6 to 8, 6 to 10 is like really open. If a lot of these movies flop, right? And Nosferatu is great, I think it can get in, but I don't know. I wouldn't put it in, but I'm just saying it's not
Yeah, I feel like
impossible.
it probably just has a better shot below the line
Yeah.
somewhere. I think people just really want this for Robert Eggers, you
Yeah.
know? So I feel like it's probably a stepping stone for his
Sure.
next one, hopefully.
Sing Sing has not lost momentum. We don't think they're bringing it back.
Yeah, they're going to be in LA this coming week.
They're
So
doing
they were
press.
just in New York
Yeah,
this past weekend. Yeah.
they're doing press. They're doing screenings. And like we've said, people who've seen the movie absolutely love the movie.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I understand being down on it because it didn't take off in the summer when it opened in super limited release and then it just never expanded. That was their strategy.
right.
Like so and then obviously A24 just kept buying movies left and right. So it
It,
seemed like it was getting forgotten.
it's not an ideal comp, but and I think people on film Twitter like this movie a lot more. But to me, it feels like past lives in that like A24 got that in. They ran the long game for it, and the people who love Past Lives loved it, and it got picture and it got screenplay, right? And like this, I feel
And
like
since they could get more. So
I think Sing Sing will get at least 3, if not 4, nominations above the line because I think Clarence Macklin. I have him in. I'm not totally. I love the narrative and I think he is great in the movie, but I think the category is competitive. I could see a world where he doesn't make it. I could see a world where he does make it. I'm gonna keep
yeah.
him in, but
And then also it's kind of like Coda-y. Not that I'm saying
yes.
it's gonna win, but I think like Coda at this point was definitely bottom tier for Best
Hmm.
Picture, and it definitely got in to Best Picture probably in like eighth or
Yeah.
something, and then obviously it surged in phase two.
I mean,
So, and I think like, I mean, I think, Sing Sing is one of the locked in quotes six at this point because nothing is locked, but like I think it's like safely in. Um, so I think it'll probably get in nomination wise, like
mhm.
in the bottom, but then like in phase two, again, not saying it's gonna win, but I think it could definitely be a high ranking choice for people because it's very difficult to hate this movie.
It very easy to imagine a world where it wins the ensemble at SAG and the room explodes, and these guys are the stories they're telling are incredible. They're obviously a great ensemble. Um, it's very easy to imagine a world where momentum's into being Coda. I don't think it's like I don't I agree with you. I don't
It's
think
not
it
the same because there's no like the race was totally different with Pound
yes.
the Dog.
Yes.
So
I'm not saying it's gonna happen either, but I think underestimate this movie at your own peril, I
yeah,
guess I
and
would
it's
say.
similar to Coda also because that was quietly dropped in theaters just for
Yes.
qualifying over the
Yes.
summer, you know.
Yeah, I'm very bullish on it. And then here, Joyce, we got another email about this from Michael, who had emailed us before. And I'll just read it quickly. He was like, "Will it have any impact on award season? The movie's still a bit of a mystery. You have not really entertained it in any of your discussions. I'm surprised it was never even brought up for craft considerations.
Excuse me, I did say I had it in visual effects and then I dropped it.
Does the movie seem a bit gimmicky, or are there hopes to swoop in at the last minute? Keep up the great work." That was from Mike B. So that was another email. And Mike has emailed before, I think, about Sing Sing, excuse me, about here. So that's two emails about here, Joyce.
Yeah.
What do we think?
So, well, it's gonna be at AFI next
Yes.
week.
Yes.
So, and then I feel like there are definitely you know, the algorithm has been serving me a lot more ads on my feed with
I saw
here.
it last night watching the NLCS game three. They ran it at
Why
Tom
would you
Hanks.
watch that? Why did you not turn it off after the second?
We have a baseball question later. But anyway, yeah, they're promoting it. I don't know. I want to like it. I hope it's good. I haven't really gotten. Here's the thing. Have you gotten any emails about it?
No.
It comes out in 3 weeks.
So it definitely feels more like an audience play.
That's what they're telling us by not telling
Yeah.
us. Um,
Yeah. But sure, like visual effects, um, like costumes. Also, just there's so many, the most costumes
yeah.
your time. I also am wondering between, you know, Nickel Boys' first person POV and here's static camera. Like, which one do you think will be more alienating to the general audience?
Nickel Boys.
Not even voters.
Nickel Boys. Full on. Full stop. I think it's completely alienating to regular people.
Mhm.
Um, This one is from Michal, who's emailed us before. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Now that Game Master Mike is not game mastering anymore, here's a game from your only fan in Saudi Arabia.
Wow, our only
Here's a
one.
list of movies that came out this year, and I want you to choose who's the heart and soul of these movies.
Oh my God.
Here are the movies. We can do this rapid fire. I think it's perfect. First up is Challengers.
Um, their daughter.
Oh, I was going to say Patrick. To me, it's the heart and soul of the movie.
I mean,
Okay.
they're all assholes in a
Yeah,
way.
but Patrick, I think, is the heart and soul. He really is that. He's the straw that stirs the drink of the
I
whole
mean, there's
crew.
not a lot of characters in this movie.
Patrick is the one who's like doing everything. All right. Next up is his three daughters, Joyce.
Natasha.
Okay, I think I would agree. Next up is our favorite World War II drama, Blitz.
Um, Saoirse.
Yes. Next is Anora, my favorite movie.
Oh, Igor Yuriborsov,
Yes.
obviously.
Amelia Perez.
Selena, although I've seen so many people say it's Carla. I just my personal thing is like I don't think the lead is the heart and soul. Like they're the lead.
Right. So you're saying Lily Gladstone wasn't the lead of Flower Moon? Interesting. Uh,
She's the most prominent female character of that movie.
uh, Dune Part 2.
Um, Zendaya.
Furiosa.
I don't know why, but I in my head I just said Hemi. I don't know.
Oh, I was thinking Young Furiosa, I think is the heart and soul of that movie.
Yeah.
The child actor
Or
who's
like her mom.
yeah,
But I just really love Hemi in that movie, which but
he's great.
yeah.
And Young Furiosa, I think, is fantastic. That actress is so good.
Mhm.
Conclave, Isabella Rossellini, right? It's got to be. Or Carlos Dietz,
Yeah, it's either her or Carlos.
one of them. The Substance,
Oh my God.
Monstro Lasso,
Iliasu, but
Lasso, um,
sure.
Inside Out 2.
Embarrassment.
Nice. Saturday Night.
There's so many of them.
I think Rachel Sennott is the heart and soul.
I'm gonna say Lamorne.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's a good one. The Brutalist.
Felicity? I don't
I
know.
think it's Felicity or the niece.
Oh, Raffi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One Wild Robot.
Is it Kit, I
Mm,
guess?
yeah, probably. You can't have the lead be it, so I guess it's Kit.
Yeah.
Or it could be Finn, or Fink, I think is the fox, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And Joker Folia Do.
I haven't seen that, so
Lady Gaga,
you
I
tell
think, is the
me.
heart and soul of the movie. And I think if people cared, that would have been what they would have said. This is great. I love this. Please
A
send in more
great
heart and
game.
soul.
Is
Please
this
send in
our
more
new
heart and
game
soul.
master?
No, Michelle. Send in more heart and souls. I think that's great. I love the heart and soul, heart and soul game. Speaking of Anora, because we mentioned it there, this one is from Sasha. Not that Sasha, different Sasha, who wrote in, "Hi Joyce and Chris. My name is Sasha, and I'm a very devoted listener of the show. Your insight is truly unmatched. Your crazy knowledge of the Oscars and other award shows helps my team get first place at the local bar trivia almost every week.
Oh my gosh. We don't even like do trivia here,
It's
you
just
know,
the
but
Oscars.
I'm like,
You drop so much knowledge, Joyce. It's you. You know so much." Anyway, my question is about Anora. I'm originally from Eastern Europe, and I have been following the ongoing Russian assault in Ukraine very closely. It's all very tragic. To my surprise, in all the Oscar prognostication discussions, absolutely no one ever mentions how the ongoing conflict may impact Anora's Oscar chances, given that much of the supporting cast hails from Russia. I'm certain that these questions about the war will damage Anora's awards chances. I personally love the film, and I hope that it can win as many awards as possible, and the representation of the Russian culture and people is absolutely incredibly accurate in the film. I just hope it won't hurt their chances. Anyway, thank you so much for all that you do. Best. That's from Sasha.
wow, Sasha. I don't think that would, if it even becomes part of the discourse, I don't think that would hurt it at all.
Yeah. I don't know enough about this topic to say whether it hurt or not, but I don't think it would hurt it. And I actually think
No,
having not, and again, I don't know much about Russian culture, but I would say the representation is fantastic in the film. I just
yeah,
think everything looks great.
there's nothing in the movie that I think is like that you could draw a direct line to with real life events,
Right.
except for the fact that it has Russian characters
Right.
and they speak in three languages in the film.
Yeah.
You know, one of them being Russian.
And
And
Armenian. And they say when it's
yeah.
Armenian.
hmm Um, yeah, like these are just Russian characters. I don't you know, I mean, like media literacy isn't at an all-time low, but I would hope people are not dumb enough to just really make that link. Like
Hopefully.
you know, like just like brush off Anora because it has like Russian characters,
I
you
don't think
know.
they will.
It's like
I,
yeah.
I would. I really. So I saw it again this week after we recorded our SAG episode, where we both said I should get a SAG Ensemble nomination. Quickly on Anora before we get to our last few emails here, as we run over. Uh, I was like, I really think it should get an ensemble, and I don't know which of the guys would actually break through because I think Karen Karagulian is so hilarious. He's so good.
So funny. There, oh my God.
TikTok, Instagram, TikTok, Instagram.
It was like, I don't have Instagram, I'm an adult.
Truly the most incredible boomer Gen X character with these morons around him. Man, I just love him so much in it. And I think that the biggest issue for any one of them getting a single Oscar nomination will be that they're all so good. But I do think it should get in for SAG Ensemble because of that. But I mean, Mark Edelstein, Yura Borisov, and Karen Karagulian are all absolutely amazing in this movie. They're so good. Um,
Yeah.
this one's from Gabriel, who's emailed us before. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I saw One Wild Robot during the weekend and I enjoyed it immensely. My favorite part is when Roz and Fink have to work together to save the other animals from the blizzard. The score is excellent, but I must play devil's advocate and ask, what's to say it won't meet the same fate as Pinocchio and Across the Spider-Verse and hits all the precursors and is widely predicted but still misses at the Oscars? It's hard for me to gauge whether this happening to animated films in the past 2 years is an anomaly or the new trend. And with the news that Christopher Nolan's next film will be coming out in summer 2026, what genre do you think it will be and what are you hoping for? I prefer for him to return to his sci-fi wheelhouse. And finally, what do you think the best casting lineup at the Oscars would be if the category was being introduced this year?
Anora,
I definitely think Anora would make it in.
Amelia. I mean, it's hard to go against like the top like five-ish in Best Picture.
I think it would be Sing Sing, Anora, Amelia.
Yeah.
And then you would say what? The Brutalist or Saturday
Brutalist
Night?
yeah, and Saturday Night.
Conclave?
I can see Saturday Night getting in
And
over
I
just
I could see that too, and I actually think September 5 would make it an over like The Brutalist and Conclave.
um yeah, it'll be interesting because I think like the tendency is to be like, oh, we'll prioritize the Best Picture frontrunners, and then there might be one or two like left field picks
Right,
just because it's
right.
like a huge cast or whatever.
Nolan, this is kind of tough. I thought I read that maybe it was going to be a spy movie again.
Yeah, espionage.
So I'm in on that. I would love that. And then the score, I don't disagree. I think like I'm hope dicting One Wild Robot because I think it should win. I Chris Bowers obviously has like had success at the Oscars, so like and he's an Oscar winner. So I think that helps, but if it missed, would I be shocked? No, I would not. And
Yeah.
I think maybe they do deprioritize animated movies a little bit, just in general. Uh, Let me see here. This one is from Harold and Maude, our old pal Aiden. Joyce, quickly. Hi, Joyce and Chris. It's Aiden again. I hope you're doing well. My local film festival is starting up soon, and I'm looking forward to seeing things like Nickel Boys, The Brutalist, and Anora. But I'm also very excited about Juror Number Two screening there. Clint Eastwood making possibly his last film being to be set in my hometown of Savannah is very cool, even if I don't think it looks incredible. My question is, are there any movies you maybe have a blind admiration for simply because they're connected to you personally? Thanks. It's from Aiden.
I mean, like so many.
Mighty Ducks, I think you would say, probably.
Yeah,
I would go with Ron Howard's The Paper, Joyce, which I just love
you love The Paper.
unabashedly. So good. I remember watching it in class. They showed it in our class, and I was in high school. I don't remember why. And I was like, this is the greatest movie ever made. And it's still great. Um, I'll read through David L. one quickly because it's not that bad, and then we'll do final three questions. uh, Email us at slugfest@goldderby.com. We'll get to your emails if we can. We have so many, and I know we'll not get all of them this week, but I'll try to read them next week, and you can keep emailing. Hello to the dynamic Oscar duo, Chris and Joyce. It's someone who disagrees with most of Chris's letterbox ratings, David L.
What did you do this week?
Uh, I didn't put a rating on Night Bitch, which I would say tells you something about what I thought of Night Bitch. I saw The Apprentice, and I have to say I was totally fine, but not very interesting. You know how you guys say great gowns, beautiful gowns. Well, this film to me is great cinematography, beautiful cinematography. I'm glad Sebastian Stan didn't do a weird Trump voice to make it realistic. Otherwise, it would have sounded like a weird SNL impression. Do you guys think if Trump wins the election, God forbid, that will hurt Stan or Jeremy Strong's awards chances because actors won't want to vote for the performance of Trump and Roy Cohn, the person who made him, or can Tom Mortenberg at Briarcliff Entertainment use his power to form a great campaign to get the film nominations as he did with Lionsgate in years prior? I also just saw a screening of Anora, and for once I agree with you, Chris. I just saw a masterpiece. Kudos to future Golden Globe winner Mikey Madison for bringing her all. I'm seeing it again in a couple weeks at the Savannah Film Festival. Maybe he should say hi to Aiden. And I still can't believe she's receiving the Breakthrough Award there when she's had bigger roles in more
Wait,
movies
wait.
than Austin Butler did. Just because it's her first leading role doesn't make it a breakthrough performance. Like you, Joyce, I hate dealing with public ignorance. Do you ever feel like Scar in The Lion King where he says, I'm surrounded by idiots?
Always.
I'm not sure if Mikey will win the Oscar, only because her character becomes very passive in the last act, but I love how the movie has a bittersweet, ambiguous ending that is open to interpretation from the audience. That's the best form of cinema, and it's why the first Joker movie is still an undeniable masterpiece, no matter what dumb people on film Twitter say. The sequel is not great, but I like Francis Ford Coppola, admire Todd Phillips finished the story and wanted to tell it with the character. After making the most profitable comic book movie, I think he earned the right to make a film that bombed. Hope he'll do a biopic drama somewhere down the road, lol. Lastly, speaking of bombs, since Saturday Night bombed at the box office, do you think no one in the industry will care about it outside of the Globes and SAG Ensemble? I saw some comparing it to Dumb Money last year. Glad you both took my advice and put The Brutalist in Ensemble and Natasha Lyonne for His Three Daughters in SAG. I have a feeling that's the movie that will have a lot of passion. Plus, all three daughters are campaigning like crazy. Your favorite persuasion, Chris?
Wow, he really gassed you up this week.
He did. That was why I read it. No, it's not the only reason. Um, quickly there. Uh, I actually think, with regard to Trump and the election, I think what part we talked about this, and I was like, there's a world where that's right, and I think we would all agree. Trump wins, no one wants to touch this movie, right? Get the hell out of my face. But I also think there's a world where if Trump wins, nothing would needle. He already has come out and said this movie is bullshit. He hates it, blah blah blah. Hasn't even seen it allegedly. I think nothing would be more of an FU if they actually nominated him. So I think in either case, it could actually help or hurt.
Yeah, like he what I posted on Truth what is their term there? I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I'm not on there,
I don't pay
obviously.
attention to this.
But yeah, his quote review of it this week, I think really energized the campaign. Like obviously Ali Abbasi has always been outspoken against
Yes.
him, and he stayed in Trump Tower last week when they were here for the New York premiere. But I think it really just like made Sebastian Stan give no more fucks because he was so like he had his talking points for like the first half of this press tour, like when he was in New York last week, like when he keep feeling the same questions about him and just it was like total media trained answers about Trump. But then like on the London Film Festival carpet this week after Trump's post, he just went all in on
Mhm.
him.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
I really do think that if he wins, nothing would be a bigger fuck you than like that. Like
Mhm.
it was like a definitely like it could be like a backlash nomination, and deservedly so. He should get in. And we both have him in right now for it. Um and yeah, Nora I think is great. I would love Mikey Madison to win. But what are you gonna do? We'll see. Last few here, Judgmental TV fan is back to us. We gotta get
Yes,
them in under the wire here.
obviously.
Hi, Joyce and Chris. I recently saw a tweet from a pretty well-known journalist, and they link out to a tweet from somebody who rhymes with Gremley Grussbaum,
Ooh, yes.
calling Only Murders in the Building boring this season, to which I have to
Wow.
disagree.
I
I
did see
believe this
that. Yes.
season is better than the last. Are there a lot of characters? Yes. Maybe they overdid it with the big celebrities this time. But this story is not only connected to the one of our main characters in a very personal way, but it's unraveling a narrative that was seasons in the making. Maybe that is too much for some viewers. My theory is that the show is actually better as a binge versus watching it weekly. Do you think that the traditional rollout hurts the show? It's from Judgmental TV Fan.
Yeah, the last thing I would call Only Murders is boring.
This has been my favorite season.
It's a great season.
I We talk about this a lot, and I think we've talked about this with Judgmental TV Fan bringing it up. This idea of what's a binge versus what's an episodic weekly rollout. I don't know. I think maybe it does. Only Murder should be a weekly because I think it ends on cliffhangers, and you kind of want to watch next week.
Yeah, and you have the whole that it's like a normal TV show. You have the whole week to talk about it with your friends.
But I could also see the argument where if you like, for example, even me who liked the season, and I know some people really hated this, the episode with the twin directors was not my
Yes,
fave.
they broke the form.
And when I watched the screeners, I was able to just be immediately like to the next episode and like not have to put a
Yes.
lot of thought into, well, that wasn't great because I'm into the next one. And I guess if you are watching weekly and that episode is a dud, then you're like, wow, that sucked. And now I got to wait a whole week. And I could see the argument there, but
That's also TV.
that's just
Sometimes
how
there's
it
just
works.
episodes you don't like and you have to wait 7 days for the next one.
So yeah, I don't
I
know if it
think,
hurts.
yeah, I'm sure there are some people who wait for the whole season to be out so they could binge it
Yeah.
because it's a mystery and
Yeah.
they don't have the
That's true.
patience for a weekly drop. But yeah, this season's great. I actually think like they're handling all the guest stars really well. Like it doesn't feel stunty, even though they are obviously stunt casting and meta like in the show too. Like it's stunt casting, you know?
The only one that felt stunty to me, but I think still worked, is Melissa McCarthy. But everybody else is like actually a character. I mean, like Zach Galifianakis is playing a great character on this season, and so is Ava Longoria, and so is Eugene Levy. And then you have like Richard Kind and Kumail Nanjiani. doing like great work. It's just it's like it is really fun, and it works. They do a great job of like integrating these people into the show. I think that's a
Yeah.
credit to like John Hoffman. Um, Couple more here. This one's from George. Hi, Joyce and Chris. I've been watching the baseball playoffs, and I have to say, Dodger Stadium is not very impressive. I know that's going to piss a lot of people off, or at least the people who are actually fans and not the bandwagon fans. You know who you are. I've actually attended several Dodgers games, and it's fine in person, minus the insane cost of beers and the hell that is the parking lot. But there's just something meh about watching a home run sail out of the stadium on TV. So here's my question: what teams have the best ballparks? And you can't just say Citi Field. Really, let's get into it.
Why? I've also been at Dodgers games, and yeah, the stadium not very impressive. I think people just revere it because it's old.
Yeah.
It's like similar to Fenway.
Yeah, but Fenway's a much better stadium. The
It,
problem I
it
have
is
with like,
better, but I think it's like it's the same thing. It's like they're old. Yeah, I think it's just like the outfield is lacking in Dodger, and it makes it look like it's like a little league field.
my thing with baseball stadiums is I don't really care, but I think in the playoffs it needs to feel like an actual hostile environment. And so like Dodger Stadium does not feel like that. The way it's spaced, the way like it just is like the players, the fans are not on top of the players. It's
Yeah.
not super loud. It doesn't come across super loud. I think Fenway and Citi Field are great examples of like it being a hostile environment when they're packed. And the
Mhm.
old Yankee Stadium was this too. The new Yankee Stadium is bullshit, and it looks like it's empty half the time.
Yeah, and it's like I mean I drove past it this past weekend. I'm like, oh fuck off. Like, and
Yeah.
it's also there's something so like flinty and cold about it. It's like way too austere. It's
Yeah.
not welcoming, you
The
know?
old Yankee Stadium was like aggressively antagonistic to players, and this one I just feel like you look watch the games, it feels like no one's there behind home. Like no, but they're not like it's
Yeah.
not. It's just not as good. So
Now, also, to be fair, the old Shea Stadium,
well, that was the best.
pre-City Field, yeah, that great. But very similar in structure to Dodger Stadium.
Yes, yes,
So,
yeah.
um, but the atmosphere there is also different because I've also been to Shea Stadium games back in the day.
Nothing
So,
top Shea. I was talking
yeah.
about this with my friends last night though. This run of the Mets this season is the most Citi Field has ever felt like Shea Stadium. Having gone to playoff games at
Mhm.
Shea Stadium and like been to many games at Shea Stadium and then many games at Citi Field, it's never felt like this at Citi Field. So that's kind of cool. We'll see how they could.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know what other, like Oracle Park is a pretty great
Who plays there, Joyce?
thing. You know who plays there?
The Giants?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know any of the names of the parks anymore either because they're all named after a bank or a hedge fund or
Yeah, whoever bought them.
yeah. So I don't keep up
Um,
with the names.
yeah, Oracle is nice. Well, because it's like right by the water. I do agree with George, was it?
Yes.
Like home runs need to look majestic
Yeah.
and it doesn't look majestic in Dodger
No.
Stadium when it sails out.
Last one here because we have so many and we were running way over. But this one was from this one you'll understand. Oh, I'll read this. I'll just read this. Hi, Joyce and Chris. Do you see a world in which we could be looking at an Oscar nomination for Sebastian Stan? And a follow-up question: do you see a potential nomination for Kieran Culkin? Asking because they share a manager, and that's a big win for her. Signed, not their manager.
It's not Emily Gerson Sains.
Not that. It's not that person.
It's not Emily.
It's not Emily.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I have that happening right now. That would be a huge year for Emily.
I have that happening too. Uh, would be great.
Yeah, and like she's managed both of them for so long since I mean obviously Kieran, she manages all the Culkins, but like since he was a child, he thanked her in his Globe and Emmy speech
Hmm.
earlier this year. I think in his Emmy one he was like thanks for being with me for 29 years. I know you don't want to hear the number. You know. And she famously found Seb at a theater camp when he was a teenager. That he has told many a times, but then he was on Mark Maron's podcast last week or 2 weeks ago, and then he said that she gave him her number, and then he lost the number, but she was so taken by him that she tracked him down because he never called at the movie theater where he worked to find him to sign him.
Awesome.
Um,
Well, this wasn't from her,
yeah,
but we would approve of this message, I guess, if it were.
yeah.
Uh, that's it, Joyce. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Email us at slugfest@golddiver.com. If I didn't get to your email, I'll try to get to it next week or send a new one. And we'll talk to you then.
Send
All
it
right.
again so don't be top of his
That's
inbox.
it. Just re-forward it. Re-forward it.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
no copy in the body. It's fine.
all right. Bye, Joyce.